Hi folks, welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you all 5 things that I think one should be aware of if you happen to be a foreigner looking to work in Germany. That's pretty specific, right? Well, let me just say that even if you are not a foreigner looking to work in Germany, I'd appreciate it if you watched my video anyway, if you're curious. You see, because these 5 things that I picked out because I personally faced them. And I can't tell you how many times that I found myself in a bad work situation, so bad that maybe I even suspected what was going on wasn't legal. So I would open up and share, for example, with German friends who would act shocked and declare to me things like, "They can't do that. That's not legal. You have rights." But unfortunately, at the same time, they were also unable to usually give me a viable, functional solution that I could use to get out of the bad situation or make it better. Then I would share my horrible experience with another foreigner living here in Germany. And when I would share my bad experiences in adventures looking to be employed in Germany as a foreigner, well, 9 times out of 10, my fellow foreigner friends, regardless of what country they were from, could generally relate, had been through the same, or even much, much worse. And so this is why, my dear viewers, I think awareness is a good thing. The more that we, the people, are aware of some of the shady things that some shady companies try to pull, the more we bring that stuff into the light, the harder, the more difficult it gets for those shady companies to do those shady things. And as if the theme I've picked out for this video today is not specific enough, let me make it more specific. It should be said that I hold no college degrees, formal training certificates from the country I am living in, nor the country I am from. If you are privileged enough to have higher education and hold the certificates and degrees to prove it, and you're trying to work in Germany, I suspect your journey will be much easier. I suspect you may not encounter half of the things I bring up here today. However, I repeat, it's good to know that this stuff goes on and look out for it. And maybe even be brave enough to speak out against it if you happen to witness it. If you're watching this and you're not German, you're not interested in working in Germany, well, I'd also still appreciate you watching this video as well. Because just as one can find racism everywhere in the world, one can also find companies behaving badly. Number 1, know your value. The German culture has a paperwork fetish. That's right, I said it. It is my personal opinion that this obsession with paperwork has created a sort of blindness, if you will, inside of this system. You see, for a culture that I consider very intelligent and detailed, they suddenly become very dumb and possibly visually impaired. When it comes to the topic, for example, of having work experience in doing something successfully, and the value of that, and a piece of paper from a school that says you spent 3 years learning to do that inside a classroom. You see, call me silly, but I think that when I can show that I spent 5 years doing a job, that says I can do the job. However, here in Germany, they don't know that you can do the job unless you have a piece of paper from a school, generally speaking, a German school, and that paper better say that that school decided you can do this. That is more valuable than somebody who can prove that they can do the job because they proved actually they can do the job by doing the job. So all I'm saying, if you happen to be a foreigner like me that wants to work, wants to stand on your own 2 feet and support yourself here in Germany, and you know that you're a good worker and you know you could do a variety of jobs, It is you who is going to have to learn how to be very confident and clear in your words when you sell yourself to either this government office who doesn't believe you because you lack a paper in German, or the variety of companies that won't even invite you for an interview or respond when you reply to them because it just doesn't say that you went to the German school and wasted 3 years of your life, for example, learning retail. Yeah, so the number one thing I want you to be aware of if you're a foreigner that wants to work in Germany is you better know your value, because you are going to face a lot of people that just can't see it. Because if it's not on a form, it's not on a certificate, and it wasn't done in the German education system, well, then does not compute. I say this as somebody that arrived in Germany with more than 5 years sales, customer service, even management experience. But also as somebody who had the dumb luck of having jobs, of working for very successful people, well-known successful people trusted me to make them money. However, when I go unemployed, the government office here that assists you will only send me jobs like cleaning toilets, sorting vegetables, generally low-paying menial jobs. And after all of these years living here, I've lived here since 2001, each time I went unemployed, I realized I had to work 10 times harder than my German friends. The looks of shock and awe on German friends' faces when I told them that I sent out 30 resumes last week was kind of funny. It was kind of funny to see how shocked they are. But what I'm telling you is I had to send out 30 resumes in that week because I'd be lucky if 3 would get back to me, because many would read my name and assume that my German probably wasn't good or I couldn't speak it at all. But I'm also sure that because they didn't see the key German-specific words like Ausbildung or anything indicating that I was trained by a German educational system for this German job, well, those people wouldn't be even interested in talking to me. And so I learned that when I finally did get job interviews, I had to walk in there with my head held high, ready to answer every question confidently. And quite often, I feel like that is what got me some of the jobs I got. It was the simple fact that I walked in there, I was confident, I knew my value, I knew what I was capable of, and I presented that and pushed it out as clearly as possible. Your value doesn't lie in paperwork. You are more than paperwork. And you are definitely more than what a person in a suit sees when they look at a paper. And on that paper, they only seek specific things as requirements. Know your value and do your best to charm them. Number 2, think outside the box. You see, with this blindness, many Germans have this inability to view you as a valuable employee simply because you lack the formal training and certificate from a German school. Well, you're going to have to get creative with your job search. So you've listened to number 1, you've gotten confident, you know your value, and you've started looking for jobs. As I stated in the last one, you may find a lot of people won't respond to you, invite you for interviews simply because you didn't learn in the German system. And so this is where I recommend to you to think about your talents, your passions, connections you may have, languages you speak, what you'd be willing to do, and your abilities. That's a whole lot of stuff. I'll give you a sort of example. I started working at a very young age, but at some point I fell into sales. Sales, promotion, customer service management. I've done it all and can do it all. But I found it tricky in Germany to find a place that was willing to take me on as a salesperson and forget management. Nobody cares that I spent years in an industry and eventually ran my own department of business development. Handling everything from customer relations to recruitment to internet sales. Nobody cares. I do not have a German school that says I can be a manager. So it doesn't matter that I actually was a manager. Did management? Doesn't matter. What I'm saying is I realized I had to get creative. So I started switching up a little bit how I searched for jobs here in Germany. Every time I needed a job, sure, I definitely looked for what I felt I was the best at, which would be sales, promotion, customer service, anything in that area. But because of, I don't know, what feels like a slightly xenophobic atmosphere, due to way many German companies not even wanting to talk to me, I started to realize I needed to look for other things. And boy, I have done a variety of other things here in Germany. And so the tip I would give you, the thing I would say to be aware of is keep a little bit of an open mind here when you think outside of the box in regards to where you would work. I, for example, stopped only searching for sales, management, promotion type positions, and I began playing with looking for companies, for example, that were looking for native English speakers. That led to me modifying my job searches to actually looking directly for international companies. And that led to me actually sometimes going to Google Maps in regards to my job search. Literally just looking at where I live and little by little zooming out and seeing what is in my area. And I was looking for companies that, for example, may for one reason or another just be looking for somebody that is a native English speaker. And that's, for example, how this salesperson ended up working in clinical research for Johnson & Johnson once. I feel like your average German, when they're looking for a job, they will play it very safe. Stick with what they know, what they feel comfortable for, and what the little piece of paper they own says they can do. That's it. And I'm saying when you're a foreigner, you don't have that luxury. Again, I repeat, think about your talents, your passions. If you got connections, use them. If you speak any extra languages, look for jobs where they need people who can speak those languages. And just be sure when you finally get that interview, you walk in there and you're confident that you can really tell them why you deserve this position, why they need you. Even if they think that your paperwork and your background doesn't say that to them. That's your time to shine and show them that you're a quick thinker and just how smart it is that one thinks outside the box when they know they can do something. Number 3, watch out for these types of employers. The trickster, the buddy, and the we're like family here folks. This one is definitely not just Germany specific. This can be found all over the working world. These types will present themselves as helping you out, doing you a favor even. But the sad reality is what they're really looking for is to save money by taking advantage of the fact that they believe that you, dear foreigner, either have limited to no other options, but also maybe aren't quite aware of all of your rights in this country, and therefore it's to their benefit that you're more likely to not complain and speak out against some of the things that they'll try to pull. These leeches will smell your desperateness and eagerness to work and use you to work illegal hours, sometimes for illegal wages, and even sometimes in illegal atmospheres. Let me break it down. You see, the trickster, well, this guy, he'll confide in you that he knows the system here in Germany well. And he presents this with you in a way that he's trying to convince you that working for him is a good thing because he knows the ins and outs. And he's going to save you from that horrible unemployment office. The evil reality is the guy is right. He does know a little bit about the German system here, and he has figured out how to manipulate it and use it to his advantage in the way where now the government is going to cover part of your paycheck for a period of time, saving him money so he doesn't have to pay you. While at the same time he's sending you out to work 13 hours a day on your feet for 2 weeks at a time away from home, little to no breaks. You see what I'm saying? The trickster. Another very common situation you may encounter as a foreigner in Germany looking to work, maybe the buddy. What's that? You need money? You're really desperate to work? Well, the buddy he's got some work for you. He's got a side job and he'll offer you straight cash in hand. And he'll offer to help you out. You just gotta keep it a secret that he's putting €5 an hour in your hand, no taxes paid. And if government workers show up, you're gonna have to run. And after working, for example, maybe an 8-hour day, and maybe the guy slips you €50 cash in hand, which you're gonna use to buy food, this guy will till the end present himself as your savior, your helper. He's your buddy. Yeah, he's your buddy until you realize that the other employees he have that just happen to actually be German, that they all get legitimate contracts, legal pay. And for some reason, those German workers, they don't have to be silent and keep a secret about this work that this buddy is willing to help you out with. And the whole time this guy's doing it, he's taking thousands of euros in contracts from very rich people who are either unaware or really just don't care what sort of positions people in desperate living situations can be put in when trying to work. But the one I think you need to watch out for the most, and you can find these people not just in Germany. For some reason, this is still a thing all over the world. The one I despise the most is the "we're just like family here" folks. Just from years of work experience, let me just translate into plain English what that means. For me, based on my experience, it translates to, in order to cover up our absolute incompetence to do this job properly and or refusal to see that this business runs as both a business should, both legally and safely for both customer and employee. The "we're like a family here" folks, well, they learned that by creating a cult-like atmosphere where they convince you that they really care, and therefore you should care about them too. Well, the world is full of a lot of sad and lonely people, and these folks have learned that quite often when they push this cult-like atmosphere, they find those folks and they get things like blind loyalty, free overtime, and just generally many opportunities where they can take advantage of you. I mean, you wouldn't dare question mom, right? And you will declare to put us, your business family, first, right? And it's too easy for them, these simple psychological games corporations can play. As I stated, they get blind loyalty and people working more hours than they're paid for, taking less time off, seeking real approval from this family figure, all while those vultures make an incredibly handsome profit off of you, whilst paying you nowhere near what your labor is worth. Listen, folks, it's not a fun fact, but it's a fact. Some families are toxic and led by sociopaths, so be aware and watch out for them. Number 4, foreign companies. It may seem a little odd to you, me, a foreigner, wanting to reach out and try to get other foreigners to be aware of other foreigner companies? But, oh yeah, I do, especially based on what I have personally experienced here. So here's what I want you to be aware of. You got your confidence, you're thinking outside of the box, and you're looking for that perfect job. And just as I did, maybe because you get frustrated that many German companies won't even consider you, you start looking at international companies within Germany. Please listen to my words when I tell you, no matter how long that country from another land has been operating in Germany, regardless of how many years they've been doing this. If you are a foreigner in Germany considering working for them, try to ask strategic questions to be sure that they are not just aware, but also playing along with the rules of the social democracy that is Germany. For example, the basic protections that one has working and living here. Try to research and make sure that what they are doing here is in fact legal, that they are operating in a fully legal way, and that the things that they tell you to do are in fact legal for you to do. How you do this? Well, unfortunately, my dear viewers, I don't think I have the best advice. I would recommend do as I always did, which is go online, for example, and begin with researching the history of the company. See what other people say, both just generally about the company, but also working for them. A great website, for example, is glassdoor.com, where people leave reviews of their employers. But if I'm dead honest with you all, I mean, there is really only so much you can do and find, and sometimes people lie. I mean, I'm still shocked, pissed, baffled at the fact that my own local police here in Germany at one point ended up with my name connected with illegal activities because of this very issue. The neglect of a foreign company, or the absolute just not giving a shit about playing along and following the system and doing things according to the book as they're supposed to. So yeah, people lie, including companies. Do your best to do some research and ask questions, because these shady people are out there. And the last thing that you need as a foreigner is your local police thinking that you're doing any kind of illegal activities. Be aware, this stuff goes on and is still going on. Number 5, know your rights. I'm sure by now, after listening to tiny examples of some of the things that I and friends of mine have been through trying to work here in Germany, I'm sure at the very least now you can understand why I think that this is an important thing to be aware of if you're looking for a job here in Germany, but also anywhere in the world. Know your rights, it's important. So I will try to provide some links in the description for you all for more information on the things I brought up here today, and maybe I can find a link or two that can give you some more guidance in regards to this one. But I think it's important that if you are going to live and work in Germany, first off and foremost, be aware this is a social democracy. This system claims, on paper at least, to provide protections and rights for the people who work and live in Germany. Working hours are regulated, vacation days, maternity leave, protection from discrimination, all have clear rules, laws, regulations clearly laid out for companies to follow, no matter where they're from, but if they're going to operate in Germany. In my own personal experience, I found, for example, that bringing up things like this, for example, in job interviews, is a way that you can be offensive, but passively sort of let this possible future employer of yours know that you're not a completely naive foreigner who could be easily taken advantage of. For example, when I think of like one of the last job interviews that I went to years ago here in Germany, towards the end of that interview came the part where it was my turn to talk. I was asked if I had any questions or anything else I would like to know about this job position I was applying for. To which I recall responding with something like, oh yes, as an American living and working in Germany for a few years, I just want to say I really admire this system and all of the amazing benefits that it seems to provide. I say amazing as compared to where I'm from. Like the amount of paid vacation days one gets here in Germany, and little things I hear about companies still doing here, like paying Christmas money. Does your international company provide these things as well here in Germany? Let me break down for you what I just did there. You'll notice that I presented the question in a very non-threatening, casual, and friendly, passive tone. That's on purpose. You see what I'm doing when I do this, and I've done it at every job interview. What I'm essentially doing is I'm very kindly laying on the table that I do indeed have some idea, some awareness of how this system that I live and work in works. I have relayed through my tone, body language, and formulation of my questions that maybe I'm not 100% aware of how things legally function here in Germany. But in reality, I have a damn good idea. But my goal at this moment is to make them feel comfortable while I read their body language from head to toe and how they respond to me with that question. I watch very closely what words they use and how they respond, and do I perceive anything to be not believable, and or does this person seem to be believing my possibly slightly naive presentation? And most importantly, will they attempt to lie or take advantage of me? Let's see. And I'll tell you this, your average German company that has its shit together and is playing by the book and attempting to do everything right, they won't miss a beat when it comes to responding to that question to me. They will, in a very German fashion, list out the data. They will then tell me exactly how many vacation days you get, and if they do or do not do Christmas money, that will be clearly written, they know. But if they're shady, or they're looking to get away with little shady things, there'll be signs. And I'm still pissed that in that last job interview that I did years ago, that I completely ignored very clear signs. It took me a few months to find out that the jackass had lied to me. But when I look back, the signs were there. The double take and confused look on the recruiter that was in the room with us when I sought confirmation twice to his answer of, yes, I will be paid a bonus, for example, every year at Christmas time. My radar was on. I saw it. I saw her kind of giving this guy a look like, what are you saying? And I kept my ever so passive and friendly body language as this little squirrely man did his ridiculous dance of a lot of lies. And folks, in the end, that's all you can do. You know, I sensed that maybe this guy wasn't giving me 100% the truth here from the way he spoke to me, but also the body language of his counterpart in the room, which is what provoked me to again ask for confirmation, and is he sure? Because I don't know about you, but for me, when I do a job interview, I'm interviewing this company and figuring out if I want to work for them. And quite honestly, the things that they offer from pay, hours, atmosphere, they better sell me on this or I'm going to move on. And maybe in that situation, I just wanted to be sold because I stand by it. The red lights were there. So yeah, just be aware that that kind of stuff does go on. Don't be afraid to ask questions, but also don't be afraid to play with your own presentation, body language, tone of language that you use in order to manipulate the situation in an attempt to get the truth. Companies do it all the time. We should too. So yeah, how about those 5 things? I guess in the end I could just sum this all up by saying, just in general, try to be aware. Look out for some of these things that I and others have and will encounter. All you can really do in the end is inform yourself, educate yourself, do your research, ask questions, and try to do your best. If you find yourself in a shady looking situation with a company that doesn't seem to be functioning legitimately, and maybe even ultimately wrongs you, please, please, please know you are not completely powerless. Always write everything down. Document dates, times, words said, who said them, what happened. Know that in Germany, if you need legal assistance and you can't afford it, there is assistance available for you. And I just want to throw this in here, even though I don't know if it's fact, but it's something that I have heard repeatedly from Germans in my time here in Germany. And the thing is, see, Germans will tell you that when, for whatever reason, it ultimately comes down to employee versus employer in the German court system here, that more often than not, the court tends to side with the employee as opposed to the employer. I have had that said to me by so many Germans, and honestly, I haven't figured out how to correctly Google and verify if that's fact. So any German viewers out there, let me know your thoughts on that, what I want to be a fun fact. Is that true? I've heard it so much that when it comes down to an employee and an employer being in a court before a judge, that generally the court tends to side with the little man more than companies? Oh man, I want that to be true, because if that's true, that's a great way to end this video. Yeah, folks, so no matter where you are in the world, or whether you're an immigrant or not, from what I've heard, seen, lived, there will always be those companies that act essentially like vultures, who seek those they view as weaker, maybe even dumber, in order to pick them apart and use them to feed their own greedy desires. Those scumbags are everywhere. And what I'm saying is, if we're ever going to stop this shit, we need to unite. In this situation, I'm talking about both the immigrants that end up in shit jobs and getting taken advantage of, treated as less, paid less, or just generally treated horribly, but also the locals, the nationals of the lands these immigrants are in, who maybe they see hints that it happens, they hear about it happening, or maybe even they know that it's happening. For some reason, don't open their mouth to try to stop it. If we unite and call companies on their bullshit, maybe they'll stop. Right, so you made it to the end of this video. Congratulations and a big thank you to you for tolerating my ranting and babbling to this point. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to click the like button. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. And don't forget, if you want to support the channel as well as get some behind the scenes, deeper, dirtier information, click that join button and become a member. Thanks for watching. And until I come at you with another video, I just want to say, I hope that you're out there taking care of yourself and make sure to stay aware.